Hi guys, my name is Ashley Begeman and I am a buyer's agent with Key Realty. This is my home buying tutorial video, basically just to answer any questions that you might have or concerns in the process of home buying, all the way from pre-approval and starting to look at houses to closing and even after closing. The first thing I want to talk about is pre-approval. A lot of buyers think that they don't have to get pre-approved until they find the home that they like. This is not true. I always recommend that buyers get pre-approved before starting to look at houses for many reasons. First, you want to know what your budget is, what you can afford, what your monthly payment is going to be, and you want to be able to be comfortable with that and the budget that you plan on spending. Number two is that you can't even put an offer in on a home until you have a pre-approval. So what happens if you find a home that you like, you're not pre-approved yet, and someone else comes in and sees that same home, they are pre-approved, and they decide to write an offer? Well, that home is gone before you're even able to get an offer in. So I always recommend to get pre-approved before you start looking. Number three is you also need to know what type of loan you can qualify for, whether that be conventional, FHA, VA, RD. Each loan has different requirements for the type of home that you can buy. So let's say you're qualified FHA, but you want to buy a fixer-upper. Those don't necessarily go hand in hand. So you want to fully understand what type of loan that you're going to have and what requirements are needed in order to purchase that type of home. The next thing I want to touch base on is using an agent. A lot of people just call the listing agent on every home. They bounce around from agent to agent when this isn't necessarily beneficial for you as a buyer. I think one of the most important things is working with a consistent agent, because they get to know you, they get to know what you want, what you like, what you're looking for. You want an agent that's going to be working for you and that's going to help you in the process rather than working for the seller when they have just shown you one home. So since you're pre-approved and you are working with a buyer's agent, it's time to start house hunting. So I always recommend to use the tools at your disposal. Use Zillow, use Trulia, use Realtor.com. These are all great things for buyers to find homes that they like in the area that are for sale in their budget. Some things you might want to keep in mind when starting to house hunt is what area do you want to be in? How many bedrooms? How many bathrooms? Do you want a basement? Do you want a garage? Do you want both? Do you want acreage? Do you want a smaller lot that needs less maintenance? These are all very important things to understand before really hammering down and starting to look at houses. Make sure that the agent that you are working with is aware of all of these must-haves and the things that you decided you need in a home. Once you start compiling a list of homes that you might want to look at, send them to your realtor if they haven't already sent them to you. You might have 1 or 2 or 5. Start setting up showings and doing some walkthroughs. Maybe it's the first house that you went through, or maybe it's the 5th or the 10th or the 15th house that you've gone through, but you finally found one that you like. It's time to sit down with your agent and put together an offer. There are a lot of things to negotiate when putting together an offer that you're going to present to the seller, and I'm going to go over a few of those things with you right now. One of the first things is the sale price. Do you want to write at what they're asking, or do you want to write a little bit lower? This is something that you need to talk about with your agent. If the house is priced right at market value, then you're probably going to want to come in right at what they're asking. The next thing is tax proration, which can get pretty complicated, so I'll let your agent explain that to you a little bit more in detail and in person. Closing date is another thing that you're going to have to negotiate. We generally write 45 to 60 days after the actual offer date. That allows time for financing and for everything that needs to be done to get done in order to get to that closing table. Occupancy seems to be a big thing that we're negotiating these days as well. If the seller is currently living in the home, then they might need time to gather their things and move out and even find another house that they're going to move to. A lot of people ask for 7 days, 14 days, even 21 or 30 days after closing to get their stuff together and get fully moved out so the home is prepared and ready for you to move in. Seller concessions is the last thing I'm going to talk about with negotiating. A lot of people ask for seller concessions. It keeps more money in your pocket at the closing table rather than you paying a bunch of money up front. So just to keep it simple, let's go with a $100,000 house and you want 3% seller concessions. That's basically $3,000. So you have to understand that you're only offering $97,000 to the seller, because essentially you're getting that money as a credit to you at closing. So that's less money that you have to bring out of your pocket. So now that you've figured everything out and you know what your initial offer is going to be, it's time to sign some papers and send it over to the listing agent so the seller can see what you're offering. This might take some time. I usually say 24 to 48 hours. It could be shorter, it could be longer. I know this is really exciting, but stay patient during this time, because you want to make sure that you're getting the home for a good price and the seller is also getting what they need out of the home. Now that you've heard back from the seller, you either have an accepted offer, a counter offer, or a rejected offer. Counter offers are super common. You're going to go back and forth a couple of times and the sellers are going to try to negotiate the things that you originally were negotiating. So occupancy could change, closing date could change, sale price absolutely could change, and also proration of taxes. So just keep in mind when you are negotiating that you're negotiating the home. A lot of other things are generally included, which is refrigerator, oven, dishwasher, washer, dryer. Don't get caught up on the personal items. You fell in love with the home and that's where you're gonna be. A washer and dryer and other appliances aren't necessarily what you're trying to get out of the transaction. Okay, now that you've negotiated back and forth a couple of times, you have an accepted offer, which is super exciting. Congratulations. Now the next step is going to be turning in your earnest money deposit, which is basically a good faith deposit, and scheduling your home inspection, which is another exciting step in the process. Your EMD needs to be turned in within 48 hours, and your home inspection needs to be scheduled and completed in the time frame that you designated on the contract. We highly recommend getting a professional in there to do your home inspection, just so you can see what's going on behind the walls and things that you're not going to see to the naked eye. Once your home inspection is completed, the next step is either going to be asking the seller for repairs, signing off and saying that you are happy with the condition of the home, or at this point, if you just feel it's too much to take on and too much needs to be done, this gives you a chance to opt out of the contract and be released from the purchase agreement. The next step is going to be the appraisal, which is ordered by your lender. They want to make sure the home is worth what you're paying for it. So this process could take 2 to 3 weeks. It just kind of depends on how busy the market is and how quick the appraiser is to get back with everything. In the meantime, while you're waiting for your appraisal to come back, your lender is probably going to ask you for a bunch of documents, maybe more than once. Just make sure to stay on top of things. We want everything to be done in a timely manner, and we want to shoot for that projected closing date that we talked about when we originally negotiated the contract. Now that we have the appraisal back and you've done all your homework that your lender has asked you to do and they have everything that they need, it will be submitted to underwriting to make sure everything checks out and everything is good. Once that's completed, then we will have a clear to close and we'll be able to schedule a time and day where we can sit down and sign all the papers for you to officially become a homeowner. If you do get immediate occupancy, this is going to be the time where you're going to want to start transferring utilities to avoid a shutoff period. So make sure you get gas, electric, water, and everything else transferred into your name so it's a very smooth process once you get the keys to your new home. We will also schedule a final walkthrough at this time, usually done a day or two before closing, just to make sure everything looks good and the home is ready for you to move in. Now that closing day is here, you have your cashier's check made out to the title company with your final number that you have to bring to closing along with your ID, and we are ready to close. If the seller still does have occupancy after closing, you're going to want to exchange numbers with the seller and make sure you guys are on the same page. So when that time comes that you are ready to move in, you can exchange keys and make sure everything gets transferred properly and you're ready to go. Congratulations on starting the home buying process. I hope this was informational for you and cleared up any questions that you might have before you get started. Again, my name is Ashley Begeman. I'm with Key Realty. I service the Monroe County and surrounding areas. If you do not have an agent yet, I would be more than happy to help you. Please see my contact information below. Good luck and happy house hunting. I also want to give a huge shout out to Jordan Begeman for helping me make this video. You should check out her YouTube channel, which is also listed below. She does amazing stuff, so go check her out and subscribe to her channel too. Thanks. I'm gonna get the giggles now. In your earnest money deposit. I can't talk. Or like, yeah. Below and get a hold of me and let's start looking at houses. That was really giddy.